Man, Netflix is really cranking out the horror movies this summer. It's time to talk a classic horror story. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. I saw the title of this movie and I said, what is this? Don't know why I said that, because it's in the name. But we're going to talk about it spoiler-free, of course, and let's get into it. So, 5 carpoolers travel in a motorhome to reach a common destination. Night falls. To avoid a deadly animal carcass, they crash into a tree. When they come to their senses, they find themselves in the middle of nowhere. The road they were traveling on has disappeared, and there's only a dense forest and a wooden house in the middle of a clearing, which they discover is the home of a spine-chilling cult. What is the love child of Midsommar, a little bit of You're Next, a little bit of Wrong Turn, and one movie in particular that I'm going to mention. Now, this isn't a spoiler, but it's something that could inevitably give away the tone. So if you don't want to know what the tone of this movie is, turn away right now. Cabin in the Woods. And I say that because this film is trying its best to be self-aware and in the know, hence the name, of the kind of movie it's trying to be. And all of this is building up, sometimes a bit too obvious-like, sometimes a bit too on the nose throughout the first 2 acts, even though there are some great aspects of this film and some great aspects of the first 2 acts. They get about as dark and as terrifying as you could possibly imagine, and the level of torture, horror, gruesomeness, gore, it is so intense at points in the movie, but not just visually, right? More so what characters are having to go through. And at one point, where one character is surrounded by a lot of other people, and here's where the Midsommar comparison comes in. Very reminiscent to Midsommar, by the way, but it's all strategic. We'll get to that here in just a second. But man, it's almost devastating to see what some of these characters go through in the movie. Now, it does start out in a very calm manner, and it really feels like a bit of a Wrong Turn ripoff at the beginning, because they get stuck, they get lost, they don't really realize where they are, and these freaky things start happening to where our characters that we had grown to kind of get on board with in the first few scenes, we get to know just enough. And I think that's what a good horror movie does. It tells you just enough about a character because, you don't want to get too connected because you never know who's going to make it to the end of the movie. And that's kind of the case here. But as we progress, it starts to become so obvious because of the constant, not only exposition, but just beating you over the head with a certain idea. And they're trying to do this thing throughout the movie, and I noticed this where, a character will do something or say something, and it's almost like the screenwriter was like, yeah, nobody's going to realize this. It's going to be this huge twist at the end. And there is a twist at the end. There's a twist that I suspected, but then there's a twist on that twist that I didn't love the execution of. And when we get all of those things fully realized and the movie ends, I looked at those final few scenes and I said, I don't think they wrapped this up in a way that felt fully satisfying. Now, were there great moments throughout? If you're a hardcore horror fan and you love the gruesomeness of something like this and all of the movies that I mentioned, because again, it is strategically implementing those things. I'm not going to call it a ripoff because of where this movie goes, but those things definitely work when they're happening, but it's all about how they wrap everything up at the end here. And unfortunately, a classic horror story fell flat towards the end, which causes me to lower my score. I don't think it fully takes away from the experience because I got a lot here from the horror genre, and there's definitely enough to like. But man, there were some really disappointing elements in the third act for me. So before I give you my score, what is the best horror movie you've seen this year? And if you like these Netflix reviews, be sure to drop your thumbs up down below. While the final twist falls short, strategically pulling from other films pays off with some great moments in the first half. This is an okay Italian horror film to watch on Netflix. I'm going a solid 60% with my score. And also let me know, did you watch the dubbing or the subtitle? I started out dubbing. I always try to do that just to get a feel for it. And then, of course, I went the subtitle route. That's the way I prefer it. All right, guys, you're the best. Let me know what's coming out on Netflix this weekend that you would like me to review. It's getting a little freaky here because these lights, man, they're freaking me out. And I don't like the noises. All right, I'll see you soon.